Kick us off.
Hey, what's up? We so forgot to add IG. They're gonna be so sad. Can we do it now while we're live? Yes, we can still add them. All right, so I'm gonna kick it off, and then we make sure that we add IG. Oh, dang! So our Entrepreneur Family Podcast. Welcome. We're talking about growing together or growing apart right now. Topic really came to us this morning when I was just thinking about we did this new exercise as a married couple to affirm each other, to bring up areas where we didn't feel affirmed or seen or heard. And it was just a good reminder to keep growing together because you just never know what you need. It was like, oh, we kind of already did stuff like this and da 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 da. But when we actually got into doing it, it I don't know, it's helpful. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So we want to get into a little bit of that now and just give you some quick tips and strategies. So if you're watching this live, like let us know what are some of your tips and strategies, and then also what resonates from what we're sharing today from our journey. Okay. And again, as much as we're talking about like relationships, this affects all areas of life in your business. Okay. Yep. So what comes up for you while I add Instagram?
Okay. We both took some notes. And so I think the first one that I want to jump in with is what happened this morning in our conversation happened because it's in our calendar. And you've probably heard this, but if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't happen. And so for us, we have this standing 8 a.m. sit on the porch, drink coffee check-in that's in our calendar, and it's like a 10-minute check-in. And it's seasonal. This is not going to work when the school year starts back up, but we've at least for this period of time been intentional. Do we do it 7 days a week without fail? Absolutely not. But at least it's in the calendar as a reminder to know, hey, the check-ins are important. Being intentional is important. Let's make space and time to be able to come together. And so it just so happened that our counselor gave us this worksheet. So it was a little bit more of a structured dialogue. It doesn't always look like that, but it was in the calendar is my first point. And so intentionality around growing together, because there is no neutral. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You're growing or you're dying. You're getting closer or you're moving further apart. If you think that there is a way to be neutral, you're living in a facade. It's a really sad reality when you realize there is no standing still. It may be a very small creep apart, but you are creeping apart if you're not intentionally growing together. And so that's what would be my first like very practical tip out of the gate. Put it on the calendar, put it on a sticky note, schedule it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think focusing on areas where the other person is helping you to grow, even if it seems insignificant. And that little detail at the end is very important because when you're angry at somebody, when there's indifference, times where I felt indifferent towards her, I would think about like the narrative that was in my head was like, oh, okay, I know she's helping me in these areas, but it's only this little thing, and it all this stuff that I want to be different or to change is so much more damaging and destructive than these little things that are just like expected or normal. Okay, and I'll give you a specific example. So like fighting our house being cleaned. She would spend all this time cleaning the house. I'm like, man, just all you do. And I had these scriptures too, the Martha Mary scriptures, where one was washing Jesus' feet, and the other one was just too busy setting all the tables and being distracted. And it was that's always how I viewed the cleanliness of a home. And so when I was in these major growth experiences, and she was having our 4 kids and still working and just not as able or in a season of as many of those experiences. There was just this I don't know, this lack of like recognition of how valuable something like that was. But now we get into this season of our lives and started to learn about wealth and consciousness and what it really takes to stand in that. And having a clean environment is often a sign of a clean internal environment. And it's like, now I value that. I'm still not the best at doing it, but I'm way better than what I used to be. And I'm, more importantly, way more grateful for the predominant way she handles that part, because I recognize how much I benefit from it and how much it affects our overall lifestyle. And so if you can find these little seeds that seem insignificant and multiply the gratitude, even if it feels small, and you just don't know what a small thing could be doing for you in a like long-term situation in your life. Like something you're doing small today will help you with something you'll be doing big tomorrow. So that's kind of my take on it. Yeah. What else?
Tell them how you realize when you travel, it's just, like the tornado came.
No, I didn't say that. We didn't say all that. Nope.
Let me see. Okay, so this one's interesting because a couple of years we joined the same group coaching container. Mm-hmm. And we had never been in that situation before at that level. Now, we've been on staff at churches together before. And so we would have leadership development and ministry staff meetings and things like that. Yeah. This particular coaching group was a little bit different, got into a lot of the nitty gritty, a lot of the deep work, and there wasn't a lot of hiding. It was a very intimate group. And so you really couldn't hide like you can in a lot of circles. And so rather than saying called out, we use the language of calling up. But the point I'm making is that we had this external accountability. And so we would be on our own individual growth paths, but then we could like grow together and then grow separately and individually, and then come together and talk about, hey, let's process this, or what does that mean for you? Or what are you doing with that information? Like, how can I help you, support you, hold you accountable, things like that. It's really important that you're not always the one calling up your partner. We talked about this, I think, the last time we did a live stream. There's multiple different relationships that you need in your life. Your spouse, your partner cannot serve all 5 of those areas. They cannot be your counselor and your mentor and your best friend and your, oh, looks great.
You're funny.
They can't be all of those things. You're not wired that way. You're going to have so much disappointment. So for us to grow together, we have our own individual paths.
Yes.
And then we made time. So we would drive from Atlanta to Nashville almost every month. And that's about a 4.5-hour drive. So on the way up there, we're talking about, hey, what's our intention for the weekend? What do we want to take away? What does this weekend mean for you? And then the 4.5 hours on the way back, we're processing what happened, what came up, what we learned. So we were in it together, having our own journeys, but able to debrief a lot. And I think that helped tremendously. It did,
like legit. And it's a hard time to have. I'm driving, love y'all, I'm out. All right, peace, bro. Good to see you. It's as much as it sounds like, oh, it's helpful, it's good. Those were challenging drives sometimes. Like oftentimes it would be such a charged emotional environment that it was like, as much as I want to talk about this, I'm also don't want to argue about this because I now am holding myself to this higher standard, and I want you to hold yourself to your higher standard, and I want you to step your game up because I'm about to step my game up. And it's like, you don't say it that way, but you feel all of that. And there's just a willingness to just just acknowledge that that's where all the energy is pent up at. Breathe and just lean into the conversation without fear. And I think a lot of people just take those emotions, and because they're afraid of how it might come off or whatever, they just, nope, I'll just process it in my head, get some sleep in the car. Like, I'm not gonna keep talking for hours and hours after a 6-8 hour event while I'm sleepy, and I know I got to get in church in the morning and serve. But that's what it takes, is a commitment.
Yeah.
And man, you got to ask yourself, are you really committed to what you say you want in a relationship? Are you really committed to what you say you want in a team, in an organization?
Yeah.
Like, are you really? Like, one of the things that I just posted on my own page and my YouTube channel was a keynote that I do called Hold the Rope.
Yeah.
And it's a keynote, an interactive keynote experience that I've been doing with corporations to help them have greater buy-ins with their teams and their employees, and greater synergy, camaraderie, productivity. Because what it does is, rather than us, taking visions and missions and having, party nights, or like trying to like do all these things to boost morale, like get our employees excited so they show up and do more and everybody feels good, and like, instead of like trying to force people to perform better, what it does is it gives them an experience with this rope where they're trying to win this tug of war, and they can feel within themselves when they're really committed to a victory or not. I hope you caught that. And so then it's like very obvious where they are or are not being that way in their work, and consequently in their relationships and all other areas of their life. Everything that you want to be beautiful, to be blissful, to be blessed, requires your effort, your commitment, your cooperation, your everything. If you want everything from something, you have to be willing to give your everything to it. And so I just want to emphasize that, because I think it's so important, because everybody wants, I remember Eric Thomas used to say, everybody wants to be a beast, so it's time to do what beasts do. Everybody wants a beautiful marriage, so it's time to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
And just to be willing to do so, is like the main thing that enables you to do some of these other tips that we've mentioned and talked about.
Yeah, I wanna, yes, let me underline that a little bit, because there were some moments in those conversations where, Daryl would say, like, are we or are we not in a conscious relationship?
Mm-hmm.
And because we had made a commitment outside of the heat of that conversation, when it got brought up,
go for it.
In a, in a respectful way, of course, we
go for it.
That was sort of like a gut check moment, right? Because you're like, yes, we are in a committed, conscious relationship. We've made the decision to commit to doing life this way. So if the conversation started to take a sideways turn, or fingers started to get pointed, like, hey, you need to do more. No, you need to do more. Like, hey, didn't you just get coached on doing this differently? So shouldn't you go do that differently? And it's like, hold up.
Yeah.
We can be in control of what we have control over, which is only ourselves. We can express how we feel, make requests of one another. But at the end of the day, I can't change him. I can't force him to be any type of way. He's on his own pace with God, and vice versa. So as long as we can remind each other, hey, yes, we have committed to this type of a conscious relationship. That means growing together. That means having conversations that are not always the easiest to have, but having them from a conscious place. To me, the way that I like to explain conscious is like, hey, I'm taking a step back and questioning everything that I typically automatically assume, or whatever has been programmed. So like, does this really mean what it has always meant in the past? Like, let's actually look at this and find an awareness in it.
Yeah. Go for it.
So that's what I think of when you say commitment within yourself, is like, it's okay to bring that reminder back in. Like, hey, we are in a committed, conscious relationship, and we've decided that outside of some of these conversations.
Mhm.
You want to run a commercial, do some show?
Yeah. Well, number one, I want to shout out some of the audience, man. I see Lambo on here, Becky. I see Chaz left. What's up, Cindy? I see you. Tiffany, long time no see, man. Glad y'all are tuning in. I hope that you finding some value from this Our Entrepreneur Family series. We've been doing it every single Friday. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. The replays do live on my YouTube channel. So if you search my name, Daryl Stinson, you'll be able to find it there. And then sometimes the replays will live on some of the other platforms like Facebook, as an example, for a little bit.
Mhm.
So check that out. We also run, now, number one, if you haven't heard this already, we help people to grow their business through speaking. So if you're looking to you have a coaching consulting business, you have a nonprofit organization, you want to grow it through speaking on the line stages, we help you to be able to do that. Formulate your message, help you with the strategy of how you outreach, and then turn those opportunities into an endless amount of leads. In order to help people to grow their ability to advance their impact and grow their movement with their message, we host these transformational events for speakers every 4 to 6 weeks. And we do this to give opportunity for the messenger to become a more powerful vehicle and vessel to deliver the message. Our next one is on August 17th. I was like, I didn't want to miss the date up. August 17th. You do have to RSVP. Okay. There's no ticket price to register. At the event, we do a give what you get type of thing. That's no pressure. But we want you to have an opportunity to grow in this work and be exposed to, our gifts and what we can help you to be able to do to advance your impact and level up your income. So if you want to work with us in person, this is one of the best ways to do it. If you want to get some exposure to the work that we're doing, you want to come meet some of the clients and just get some reps in and, growing your ability to impact the world with your story. Every event has a little different theme.
Mhm.
And so this one that we have coming up is all around storytelling. If you think about the power of having a refined core message and a skill to be able to articulate that message in multiple environments to bring about different opportunities for you, it is a very powerful skill.
Mhm.
When you're at a networking event and they say, hey, take a moment to introduce yourself to the room,
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to tell a story that can engage people with your products, your services, your mission, your cause. When you're online, like we are right now, and you have opportunity to do what I'm doing right now and talk about things you're passionate about. It is a story. Your website, a story. Your social media, a story. Your speeches, story.
Yeah.
So newsletters, story. Email copies, story. Relationships. Hey, tell me what you do. Are we going to do business in life together? Story, story, story. So your ability to communicate, connect with, and listen and collaborate around story is so valuable. And that's what we're going to give you opportunity to rep, to practice, to align to evolve into your next level of expression. August 17th, visit the bit.ly link /August 2024 or comment the word event.
Mhm.
Comment the word event, and we'll reach out to you and make sure that you get all the registration information. If you can't make August 17th, but you're like, I want to tap in with y'all in the future. Again, we host them every 4 to 6 weeks.
Mhm.
Some people come to multiple events. Some people are like, I'm at every event, no matter what. So you can find out we usually plan them 3 to 6 months in advance. So you can always find out what the upcoming ones are just by typing the word event in the chat. Okay, so that's our short little commercial. Want to get back into the conversation that we're having around growing together or growing apart.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not intentionally growing together, you'll be growing apart. If you're single, if you're not intentionally growing, you'll be stagnant, retreating, digressing, stagnation. I already said stagnating, didn't I?
Yeah.
Dang it. Gotta work on my ability to improv.
You want to do your
my vote, my graphic right now? Nah, I'll do that in a second. Let's get back into the combo.
Okay, so I have an interesting one next. So Daryl definitely led the way for us in this arena. And it took a very long time for me to come around, but I don't mean come around. What I mean is understand the value of investing money into our growth at a level that pushes the edge. And what I mean by that is if you have $100,000 in the bank and you're investing $20, that's not a lot of skin in the game. But we've invested over the last few years significantly more than what I was comfortable with multiple times. Mm-hmm. And it's a faith step every time. And we remember why we're doing it each time. And we have prayer and we have conversations with God and we have conversations with each other. Like, is this the right move? Is this the right investment, etc.? But I want you to speak a little bit to that, because I think regardless of what amount it is for you, the important part for me is that it's pushing an edge for you.
Right.
And it's also, are you in agreement that you're going to invest your resources in general on growth? I think you have to be on the same page that, yes, this growth is going to take some type of investment of our time and our money.
Yeah.
Period. Like, regardless of the amount.
Yeah. Man, you don't value something until you place a value on it, right? And part of being willing to invest increasing amounts in yourself and what you believe in is valuing like yourself enough in order to make that investment. It truly is an investment in you, even though you're handing cash to somebody else. You're not handing over your power unless you choose to. And, I've done that in previous, dynamics where I'm like coming from this need and void, like I'm unworthy, and then I like pay for that. But anyways, the predominant reason is like, man, I value myself. I see myself as a worthy investment. If you think about like, if I were to give you, 17 acres of land in the middle of Metro Atlanta, I don't know where we find it. But if I were to give you that, it'd be like, man, that's a very valuable property. Yeah. And I asked you, hey, are you willing to invest, $10 million into that development, which is like not nearly enough. But I'm just using numbers. Everybody be like, heck yeah, because I know I make 100 million, 200 million, 3 billion, whatever from the property. I understand its value, so I'm willing to like make a larger investment. Now, if I say I'll give you 17 acres of land in the inner city streets of the most dangerous parts of Chicago, you wouldn't necessarily be willing to make the same amount of investment because you don't value the place as much. And sometimes that little bit of mind like analogy helps people to see how they're valuing themselves. Mm-hmm.